Hey, shalom, everyone. Welcome. We are uh, on Coffee and Connection, episode 30. I can't believe it. And here we are back to our regular time. And I'm really happy to see you all here. Welcome to everyone who's here. And a bunch of you, I just wanted to point out that a bunch of you had mentioned that you were having some issues listening to the recordings. And I checked it out after I couldn't figure out why it was happening. And I just spoke to my tech guy. He checked it out. He also doesn't know what's happening. So I'm just letting you know that we are trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what's going on. I am looking to move all the recordings to my website, which is still under construction, but I'll let you know when all of them are up and running. So thank you so much for everyone who let me know that. And Be'ezrat Hashem, they will all be available soon. I don't even know what's going on, but please God, we are working on that. So today's topic is so important. I keep getting questions about this topic, which makes sense, right? Because communication is really the cornerstone of a good relationship, right? We need to have good communication. We need to be able to discuss things with each other in order to be able to really connect and work together as a team, create partnership. And we often, when we talk about communication, when communication is discussed, or even when we think about communication, there's generally kind of two opposing sides that ends up happening. We can end up not talking about things. We can end up holding everything in, thinking that we shouldn't share because we see that even when we do try to share, we end up fighting. It seems not worth it. We're not really listening to each other. I don't feel heard. I don't want to cause a fight, right? That whole idea that we've discussed of like, well, if I bring it up, he's going to get upset. I'm going to get upset. It's going to cause a fight. So I just won't share anything, right? And the other option is, I'm just going to express myself. I'm just going to let it all out. I'm just going to say exactly what I feel. And I mean, the irony is that one side kind of leads to the other, right? When we hold everything in and we think, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to hold back. I'm not going, I don't want to start a fight. Everything kind of gets pushed down, pushed down, pushed down, pushed down until something happens. And it's often not even something big that we no longer can control ourselves. And then we end up spewing it all out, not the way we want to say it, not being the woman that we want to be. Right? So what we need is to figure out how to communicate in a way that actually creates connection, because not communicating leads to resentment, which is poison for relationships. And just saying everything that we feel and just saying whatever I feel like and not caring about the other person's feelings is also going to lead to issues in our relationship because we won't feel safe in the relationship, right? So, in order to have real communication, we need a whole bunch of things to be present. Now, I want to share this, as I said, because so many women have been asking me these kinds of questions lately. And I will be honest when I say that the steps towards creating healthy communication are not what, like, I'm going to give them to you. I'm going to tell you exactly what creates good communication. And I will be honest that it is a process to get to that place, to get to that safety and to get to that clarity and that sense of I can express myself and I want to express myself. And that really is how the whole Absolutely Feminine program is structured, to bring us to that place. So if you get off this call and you try it and you're like, it's not working, Chana, it's okay. Nothing's wrong, right? It's just because each of these, we're going to go through the three different things that are necessities for having that safe communication, for being able to actually discuss these issues. And they can be processes to acquire and to develop in the relationship. Okay. So as I go through them, I want you to just mark down which of these do you feel you do well in? Are you excelling in? Which ones are struggles? Right? So that, as I always say, you have to know where your struggles lie, to know where you're at, so that then you know what your next steps are, right? We can't figure out where we want to go if we don't know where we are. And where we're struggling is telling us exactly where we are, right? It's like a gift to be able to realize where our struggles lie. So let's go through these three things. The first thing to be able to communicate is to feel a sense, is to really respect ourselves, right? Why? Because in order to really communicate, in order to properly express ourselves, we have to, number one, recognize that we have, I don't know if the right word is right. I don't want to say right. We matter. Okay? You matter. Your feelings matter. Your desires matter. What bothers you matters, right? And you are able to express that. A lot of times what gets in the way of why we hold back is because we think, well, it's not worth it to say this. I don't want to upset anyone. I don't want to upset him, right? Which means that what you're telling yourself is that his feelings matter more than mine, right? And we both matter. You matter and he matters. So recognizing that you matter and having that real understanding of what is it that I actually want to communicate. See, a lot of times what we're saying is not what we really want to say, right? We're kind of expressing our feelings and kind of expressing our desires and kind of expressing our opinions, but we may not even realize how much we're holding back because we're scared to be vulnerable and it's scared to express what we really feel, or we might not even be aware of what we really feel. I always love to give the example of, a woman calling her husband and saying, I'm so tired, I'm not in the mood to make dinner. And her husband says, oh, don't worry, I'll make some grilled cheeses for everyone, or just give them, hot dogs from the freezer. And you're like, no, and you're all upset, right? Why are you all upset? Because what you really wanted was pizza for dinner, or what you really wanted was your husband to say, I'm going to take you out to a restaurant, or what you really wanted was sushi. What you really wanted was someone to cook you a yummy dinner, right? But you didn't say that, right? You just said, I'm too tired to make dinner, because maybe it's too vulnerable to say, let's get pizza. Maybe you feel like a grown woman shouldn't want pizza. Although, come on, I want pizza. I don't know about you, right? Or maybe you feel like you don't deserve to have pizza because you had pizza 3 days ago. Or maybe because you're embarrassed to say that you're embarrassed to say you want to spend money, or that you want to have someone else take care of you. You think you have to be able to do it all. Maybe you think you have to be really tired to even deserve to ask for his help. Who knows? Only we can know. When we can really go deep and ask ourselves, what do I really want? What am I really feeling? What's really bothering me here? Then we can communicate from that place. And we also, as like a very important side note, we get to work through what's bothering us before we even talk about it. So we have to get really clear on what is it that I really want? What is it that I'm really feeling? What is it that I really want to say? So there's a lot of respecting myself that needs to happen for me to be able to communicate. Okay, so that's step one. What we could call this is kind of like I have to respect myself. I have to, Stephen Covey says, I have to seek me out, right? And this is going to become really important later also, because when we talk about how do you react to somebody, arguing with you, or not hearing what you have, like not like wanting to fight with what you're saying, when you respect yourself, you don't have to prove it to anyone. You don't have to be, if someone says, well, I disagree with you, it's okay. Because I know what I believe, and I know what I feel, and I know what bothered me, and I can stand confident in that. And that's really important in good communication so that it doesn't turn into a back and forth, so it doesn't turn into a fight, so it doesn't turn into like trying to, I'm the victim and then no, I'm the victim. And we want to avoid all of that in communication, right? So the more I respect me, the more I'm going to communicate clearly, confidently, and before it's too late, right? I'm going to actually express myself before I end up, exploding. That's number one. Number two is that if I'm going to communicate with you, and let's remember that the point of communication is what, right? What's the point of communication? Sometimes this is actually a question. It's a good question to start with. What's the point of communication? Um, Often we think that the point of communication is that I hear somebody say back to me, I get the response that I want. But honestly, that has an element of control in it, right? And we can't control what someone else is how they're going to respond to us. Really, what I invite you to make your intention in communicating is that you get to express what you feel or what you want and be heard. Okay? That's what I would invite you to. Yeah, it's building connection. Thank you. How is it building connection? Through expressing yourself and being heard, right? And when you feel heard, that's what allows you to, right, to feel connected. So it's very important to set up what you're going to say in the way that the other person can hear you, right? Makes sense, right? We want to say what it is that we want to express, knowing, like saying it in a way that another person can hear. So we have to be honest that very often, if I'm going to tell someone something that they don't want to hear, and this was actually, I had a conversation about this with John Gottman a few years ago when I did his training. I got to ask him this question at the end of the first day. It was really great to speak with him. He's been one of my, like I've been reading his books since like I was newly married. I was so excited to do his training and so excited when nobody else was talking to him. My husband was like, go ask him a question. And this was the question I wanted to ask him. I said, what is your views on communicating negative feelings? Do you think that you can communicate negative feelings? And he said, yes, but the other person, he said, it is very important in a relationship to be able to communicate about everything, but we have to be aware that the other person is going to have to put their stuff aside to be able to hear you, right? It's not easy to hear, I don't like something that you did, right? It's not easy to hear, oh, Shira's here. It's not easy to hear, you did something I don't like. Like, no one wants to hear that, right? Do you want to hear your husband say, you really hurt me? No one wants to hear that, right? So what do? We get defensive, we attack back, all of that stuff. So the clearest way, the quickest way, I should say, the quickest way to disarm someone, and I invite you really to do this authentically and in integrity, not as a manipulation tactic, is to really, before you communicate, try to understand what's going on for them, right? And for this, you have to be able to respect and get curious, have empathy for him, right? What was going on for him in that situation where he said this thing I didn't like that I want to tell him? How does he feel about picking up pizza for dinner? What's his opinion about where we should go on vacation? Like, recognize how he feels and what's going on for him. And the best thing is to start out by saying, I know that don't love, that you love coming home to a home cooked meal. Or I know that in that situation, you really were just trying to make a joke and make me feel better, right? Like, say his side. Or I know that, I'm just trying to think of all the examples that women have written to me about. I know that you really care about the way that you dress and you want to save money. And I really understand that. And I even respect it, right? You see why that's important? It brings his defenses down. He knows, and again, you have to do this with integrity. He knows that you hear him. He knows that you understand him, and he can put his shields down. This is not an attack, and he is understood. And then you can say, and this is how I feel. This is what I want. This is what's coming up for me. So what you're doing very clearly is showing that truth that we both matter. You matter and I matter. Now, the third piece is also really important because after you say those two things, we have to respect the reality that it's still hard to hear. It's often hard to hear like what someone else doesn't like about you or how you hurt them or that they have a different opinion than you. Or it's important to recognize that you just have certain patterns and he may assume that you attacked him even if you didn't, right? He may just be used to responding a certain way. And it's really important to be careful in that moment after you finish saying what you want to say and to say it as quickly and concisely as possible. That's why it's so important to first realize what you really want to say, to then stop talking. Let them process what you just heard. If they try to attack and get defensive and come back, you can say, just listen. Just listen. Now it's your turn to listen, right? You wanted them to listen. Now you listen. And you hear what they have to say and you can reflect it. I hear what you're saying. I understand how you feel. And then you can once repeat, and this is how I feel. And that is what you're really doing, is not just respecting you and not just respecting him, but respecting that whatever is going to work, whatever is going to happen is happening in a space that includes both of you. So if it's something that's about him, something that he wants to do, you shared how you felt, you shared your desire, you shared maybe what bothered you, and then it's important to give him his space to do it his way. If it's something that's about you, you shared how you feel, you share that you understand him, then it's important for you to do what you feel is important for you to do, right? And if it's something that the two of you are going to do together, then you can start to look for what I call, based on, again, from keep looking under my desk, that's where all my books are these days, from Stephen Covey, the third alternative. And you can try to work together to figure out something that works for both of you. Okay. Now we're going to do a whole nother coffee and connection on this topic of compromise, because again, it keeps coming up and I want to talk about this. So third alternative is not compromise. We're going to talk about that. But the only way you're going to start to figure out what will work for the two of you is if you have respected yourself, so you don't need to argue with him. You respect him and you give space to try to to understand that you both matter in this situation. Okay? I'd love to hear in the comments, like any questions you have, any like how this is landing. So I see one question here. How do we stop ourselves from being defensive when he has a complaint against us? I love that question. Call a kavod for like thinking in that way. Oh my gosh, what about when he wants to communicate with me and tell me something I don't want to hear? How do I not get defensive? Amazing. Amazing, right? You really want connection. That's amazing. So what I would say is that when he's sharing something about you, it is really hard not to get defensive. It is so hard. We are like, quote unquote, in the hot seat, right? Now we're the one being told that there's something that he doesn't like about us. And the very first thing when you find yourself getting defensive is check in. Hold on, Chana, what am I making this mean, right? What is he saying and what am I making it mean? If he's saying, I really want dinner, I'm just going to give an example. I really want dinner ready at 6 o'clock when I come home. Are you making that mean I'm a terrible wife? I'm a failure. I suck at this. He hates me. He's going to leave me. Like, what are you making it mean, right? That you suddenly feel you have to get defensive and recognize that it is important for him to be able to express himself, right? A lot of women tell me that their biggest complaint is my husband doesn't talk to me. My husband doesn't share his feelings with me. So we have to realize that in order to make it safe for our husband to share with us, sometimes they're going to share things we don't want to hear, right? And part of making it safe is being able to hear the things that we don't want to hear. That's part of the vulnerability of a relationship, is that to have a real connection, we're going to have to say and hear things that are hard to say and hard to hear. So it's you can mirror that. Like, well, how do I want my husband to respond? Can I just hear what he's saying and get out of what I'm making it mean? That will also make it easier to hear what he's saying, right? So thank you so much for that question. Now I'm getting a comment. I did that and it worked. Woo! Timothy, you're awesome! I was so happy that he listened and started to dress normal instead of in his oversized. I'm saying out loud because she wrote it to everyone. Thank you for being vulnerable. And I'm so glad that you sent me this question, and I'm so glad that you took the coaching. Amazing. So I'm just going to read it, okay? So that everyone who listens to the recording also gets to hear this. He started to just normal instead of in his oversized work clothes. I want to look nice for him and wish that he would want to look nice for me because it's not enjoyable to come home to him looking like that. And I would never want to look bad for him. Oh, and he heard you. It's amazing. Amazing, amazing. Do you want to share anything? Do you want me to unmute you? Oh, amazing. So here we go. Did it work? You just have to click to unmute. There you go.
It was just great because I come home and he's there and he's looking awful in this oversized clothing that makes him look 50 pounds fatter. And I just didn't like it. And I told him, I just feel bad. Like I would never do that. I would always want to look nice for you. And now he started dressing normal. So it was
Wow.
great.
Wow. And was there anything about, let me ask you this. Had you ever said anything to him about it before?
Yeah, but he was working. So I never like made an issue because he has to be comfortable. But now he wasn't working. So now if you're not working, you don't have to look like that.
So you said it, what was different about the way that you said it? Or was the difference that you said something, or was it the way that you said it? Like, what do you think made a difference now?
I said that I feel bad. I wouldn't want him to look like that. I would never want to look like that for him. So I don't appreciate him looking like that for me because I always want to look nice. So why can't he look nice for me too? And the
Mm-hmm.
next day I came home and he was dressed nicer and
Wow.
has been since. Yeah, it's
Wow,
been great.
amazing. Amazing. And what I really hear in that is that you were so real and vulnerable with him, right? You told him how you feel. You told him why it's so important for you that he dress a certain way. You told him how it makes you feel. And you weren't saying like you're gross, you look awful, you know what's wrong with you. It was a vulnerable share from your heart, and it really entered his. It's so beautiful.
Using the tools.
Amazing. Amazing. Simi, thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So, I just want to, before we close off today, I want to introduce you all to somebody very special, who has I'll start out by sharing myself vulnerably, that I have felt that over, as much as I really want to be there to support all of you, that I don't always, I feel like I leave some of you perhaps feeling unsupported. I don't always have the time to be there for everyone and respond and really be able to serve all of you the way that I want to. And so I'm very excited to introduce a new member of the Absolutely Feminine team, Shira, who I'm going to unmute right now. Where is she? Where are you? Why don't I see you on my list? That's so weird. Oh, there you are. Okay, you can unmute. So Shira is going to be joining the team. She's going to be assisting me and helping me. You may get an email from her every once in a while, especially to set up times to speak or anything like that. And the amazing thing is that Shira has actually done the Absolutely Feminine program. She's finishing her second year in the program. So if you have any questions about it, you can also ask her. And yeah, Shira, you want to just introduce yourself, say hi.
Okay. My name is Shira Mendelovitz, and I'm really excited to be doing this for Chana. Working with her for 2 years, like on the mastery program, was just amazing. I'm sad there's not a third one. It's hard to say goodbye. Like Chana's just amazing support, and just like seeing people where they're starting off with her, and I just feel like I'm cheering you on also because I know where you were holding and I know where I'm holding now, and it just doesn't even seem believable where I am now. Things I sit back sometimes at the end of the day and it's just like mind blowing. The things that Baruch Hashem go on in my house with my husband now.
Amazing. Amazing. Shira has really been such a amazing inspiration to watch how she's learned the tools and applied them. And I even see how she's able to an amazing thing that I don't know, you were on the call today, right? But we did, all the women in the mastery kept like calling themselves out, like, I know I need to use this tool, or I know this is what's going on in my head. And I love seeing the understanding, the mastery of the skills. And Shira really is showing that and has really expressed that. So I'm really excited for her to join the team and be there not only to assist me, but to also support all of you. So if you hear from Shira, just know that she's there helping me. Of course, everything you share with me is still confidential, 100%. And Shira is here to help me and to support all of you in any way that you may need. So I just wanted you all to meet her and 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 help me welcome her to the Absolute Feminine team. So thank you, Shira, and I look forward to working together with you. Thank you, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, everyone. So that is, I would love to hear any thoughts that you had on today's call. And you're getting some welcomes, Shira. And I just want to thank you all for being here. I look forward to seeing you again back here in our regularly scheduled time. And I think that was all right that we needed to talk about. Okay, awesome. Oh, and the replays, I'll let you know as soon as everything is back to normal. I don't know what's happening, but we're going to figure it out. So until next week, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.